In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker, depending which version of this action figure you have. For the vintage collection, he was VC number 13 at the time, so pretty early on in the TVC line. I've had this for quite a few years now, probably maybe 6 or 7 years now, and it's a very nice action figure. So I featured him on the channel quite a few times before up until now, but I haven't done the dedicated video to him up to this point. And every action figure deserves its own video, so that's what we're doing today. Usually when I do videos, I like to be in the mindset for a particular character, so today's the day for Darth Vader here. And yes, he is technically Darth Vader at this point. As you can see, he does have the Sith eyes, so this is more geared for when he's on Mustafar at this point. As far as the action figure is concerned, there's really not a whole lot of newness to him in particular. He's just basically a retool of the old 30th anniversary action figure, which I do have reviewed on the channel. This one right here. For the most part, it's all the same exact parts other than a new head and then hinged elbows instead of the swivel elbows that this one has. But other than that, same exact action figure. So if you see my review of this one, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into with this one. But this is a nice upgrade. It does have some flaws about it, and we'll note that a little bit later in the video. But before that, I will talk about the package a little bit. So I got this loose on eBay for like $20 actually, so not too bad of a deal. And it was complete, as you see here, and in great condition. So I think I got a pretty good deal on that. I've seen this action figure go for outrageous prices every now and then. So $20 I think is pretty good. And you can still find deals like that every now and then. So if you're on the hunt for this guy, keep an eye out. You never know what you might find. So he's been released and re-released on several different cards at the time. He has not had an updated release in TVC 2.0 yet though. But at this point I think it'd be better just to go with an all new action figure. I don't think photoreal would really do anything for this guy because the face paint turned out pretty well on this. And I don't think a photoreal update would really do anything for him. So he was originally released on an Anakin Skywalker card, if I recall correctly, and the image for him is on the platform droid during the duel on Mustafar. Well, Hasbro did wisen up to fact that this isn't technically Anakin anymore, it's now Darth Vader. So they did a running change of him on a Darth Vader card. And the card, I'm not sure if it was either the Anakin one or the Vader one, also had the foil variant, which a lot of those early TVC action figures had the foil variant. I think it was mostly the Revenge of the Sith cards actually that had those. I think General Grievous had one, Commander Cody had one. I think the Darth Sidious from Revenge of the Sith also had that as well. A few others here and there. So there's many different variants of the cards out there. Of course, the foil one's the more expensive one and the more highly sought after one if you're a card collector. But as far as action figures being loose, I don't think there's any differences between any of them. And of course, for me, I'm mostly a loose collector. I keep a couple carded ones here and there, so it's not really that big of a deal or important to me, although it would look pretty nice on a card, I think. So without saying anything further, let's just take a closer look at this guy. So as I mentioned, you can see the Sith eyes on him, which is really nice. I like having an Anakin figure or a Vader figure with the Sith eyes. I would really like to get the Hot Toys action figure of Vader with the Sith eyes. That was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figure, I think, and now they charge like or the prices on eBay for him go for like $1,000, which is outrageous. I do hope that one gets a re-release at some point because I would really like to get that. So this head sculpt is totally new for this action figure, and as you can kind of tell, the hair sculpt is different from the actual head. So it was placed on there separate, and I have seen some samples where the hair wasn't really placed on the figure very well. Fortunately on mine it did turn out pretty good, I think. As you can see, he's got a little bit of that scraggly hair, I suppose, at this point. The sideburns are painted on, it looks like. So you can tell Anakin's looking kind of evil at this point. But I like that they sculpted that hair separate. At the time, it was kind of an innovative thing because we haven't really seen anything like that up until this point. Most of the time, the hair is just sculpted on, and of course, if there's like ponytails or braids or anything like that, it's kind of sculpted a little bit separate. But as far as just a regular hair piece, not too often, I think, leading up to this, we ever saw that, if ever. But one minor complaint about this, and I've heard this every now and then, he does have a little bit of the chubby cheeks about him. This one, I think, is a little bit more of a better likeness to Hayden Christensen. So you can see the difference between the two there. But it's not that big of a deal when I look at him up close. It's like, yeah, I can see that he's got a little bit of the chubby cheeks, but that's not really that big of a deal to me. You could make an argument or make an excuse for it, saying, well, maybe because he's so consumed by the dark side, he's poofing out his cheeks more or something like that. I don't know. Has that scar there, so yeah, looks pretty good. As for the rest of the body, most of it's the exact same. Whoops. Just put that there for now. So he does have his robe here, which it does fit pretty good. You can get the hood over him, like his slaughter of the Separatists on Mustafar. I would like to try and reenact that scene for a diorama at some point. I just need to get all the pieces for it. So yeah, you can kind of get that. Maybe you could put a wire in it or something and make it look a little more form-fitting for him. But it's not too bad. At least it's not like way up here or anything like that. As I said, the rest of the body is pretty much the same as this guy. There are some differences though. As you can see, now he does have hinged elbows, so slightly different sculpted arms. The hands are, at least this hand's the same as that one, I think. But they did sculpt a new choking gesture hand for his robotic arm here, which is nice that they did that. You can reenact that scene where he calls Padme a liar and then he ends up force choking her. Not the most heartwarming scene in the world, but you know, that is an option for you. I will note one thing about this hand as well. So because it's in that choking pose, you really can't get him to hold his lightsaber too well. So you're pretty much resorted to just having him hold it in his left hand here. Kind of an unusual thing for Anakin, but that is what it is. It's not really that big of a deal. I kind of like having that choking pose of a hand. Now, I suppose if you bend the fingers a little bit, you might be able to get it in his right hand, which would be more accurate for Anakin, but like I said, not that big of a deal. Plus, you can kind of get him to hold it with both hands, or at least the gesture of that. So you can kind of pretend he's holding it with both hands if you wanted to. The rest of the outfit, it's pretty basic. It's just Anakin's or Vader's outfit at this point. Not really a whole lot going on with it. But it does have some nice texture detailing, I suppose. Looks pretty good. His skin tone is much more darker, I suppose, as you can see by the hand, of course in the face, which would make sense. At this point, he's corrupted by the dark side, so he probably has gone through some bodily changes. He does have the hole for the unignited hilt, as you can see there. It does have a hard time staying in place sometimes. I do have it where it falls out. And of course his boots here. Articulations, exactly what you expect. He does have that ball joint the head there, and his shoulders and elbows, swivel wrists, hinged waist, and then hinged hips, which was a big deal at the time. This guy has hinged hips too. And of course, hinged knees and hinged ankles. So he pretty much has all the articulation you could want. Then for accessories, pretty basic. He just comes with his bare minimum essentials. He has the robe here, which, like I said, is pretty good. I think it fits on him just fine. It's easy enough to slip on here. Then he has his signature lightsaber, which looks pretty good. It does seem like it's a little bit unique, though. It might be just me. But it seems like his hilt here is a lot thinner compared to a lot of his other lightsaber hilts. As you can see there, yeah. So it is a slight different retool. And the blade is a much more deeper blue. Then, of course, his unignited hilt here. Just plugs into the belt. No problem. I did want to try and reenact this scene here, if we can do it. Did bring out my Revenge of the Sith Padme here. Put this guy here. But yeah, that is an option for you if you want to do that. Does have a little bit of dust on him. Hard to avoid that. I would say that looks good, but it's not exactly the happiest scene in the world. Probably one of the saddest scenes in all Star Wars, quite frankly. But like I said, if you are into dioramas and you want to reenact that scene here, it's certainly possible. So would I recommend this Darth Vader action figure for your collection, or Anakin Skywalker, whichever you prefer to call him in this case? I definitely would. It's at the time of this video, it's the best 3 3/4 inch Vader / Anakin that we've gotten to date, quite frankly. And when you think back on it, that's kind of a shame. We still don't have a definitive Revenge of the Sith Anakin in TVC up until now, which is kind of surprising. I really hope Hasbro gets around to that soon. Now that we have the Ahsoka series with an Anakin in it, I would not be surprised if Hasbro is making that right now, and then pretty soon here we'll see a reveal for it or a pipeline. So we'll probably be on an Ahsoka card first, and then eventually they'll get around to making Revenge of the Sith for Anakin. But as far as a dark side Anakin, this might be the only one we ever get. So if you really want one for your collection, I think you should jump on this. Like I said, loose, he's usually far cheaper because the card and the card art is highly sought after. So if you're particular about having a loose one, I would suggest go ahead and staying with that and getting him loose. Otherwise, you're going to be paying through a roof for a card that you're just going to open anyway. But being loose, like I said, I got this for $20 in free shipping, so you might find it in the $20 or $30 range for loose, which I don't think is bad at all. It's totally worth it. It's a nice action figure all around. And he's kind of an essential one to have for any collection, quite frankly. I can't really think of any ways that Hasbro could update him. If they did happen to do a re-release of him, or a re-release of VC-13, I would hope, instead of just doing a photoreal face, that they would just make an entirely new head instead. Which is possible. They did it for Shea Vizsla, so I don't see why they would do it for him, just to kind of fix up the cheeks a little bit. Make the head look a little bit more closer to Hayden, because I don't think a photoreal is really going to do much for this guy at all. But yeah, great figure overall, highly recommended, and I'm glad to own him in my collection. So anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more in the future. Always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always greatly appreciate all your support. And check out some links in the description if you haven't done so already. And as always, thanks for watching.